All right. I'm hoping we are live. Looking at the stream, connecting the software. All right, welcome to Dynamo, the crypto chat. I'm just gonna talk crypto. I've got Sean Neal here. He's the creator of Dynamocoin. He's former Wall Street veteran, former technology executive at Merrill Lynch, and Keith Carpentier, the president of QBuster Technologies and the co-founder of Dynamocoin. You guys ready to talk some crypto?
Let's talk, Joe.
Let's do it. Let's start with the markets first. Let's see what we got here. Sean, what do you think? The market's been down the last couple of weeks. Everybody's been expecting Bitcoin to go down to 25,000, but it hasn't. It's just bouncing around between like 29 and 38.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, options expiration, a lot of downward pressure there that never really materialized. So that, that was a big fear, I think there. And then you probably have, some light trading days too, right? A lot of vacation, 4th of July, all that kind of thing going on. So light volume, typically, it ends up with lower, price depression. So trading in a range, waiting for some news probably, right?
And really, Sean, I mean, that's probably like the best thing that the industry could hope for, right? Rational selling, consolidation, forming a base. Like, isn't that what mature markets do?
Yep, exactly. Behaving exactly like an equity.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yep.
Do you really think there was a lot of hype? Everybody's been trying to say it's going to go down to 25, 20. That was more hype than reality of it possibly happening.
Haters gonna hate, Joe. Haters are gonna hate.
Yeah, I think you probably have some short sellers in there that are talking about that, and I don't think you're gonna see 25. I think you're gonna see 50 before you see 25.
Do you think it's gonna start going back up soon?
Yeah, I think you're gonna
have,
yeah, I think you're gonna have renewed interest. You're gonna have just renewed interest in crypto in general. A lot of these big stories coming out that are positive. We had just a slew of negative news and misinformation, and frankly, and now now things are kind of like, oh, okay, the world didn't end, and people are realizing that it's actually here to stay. And yep, I think you've seen the bottom.
Yeah.
All right.
You didn't see that 80% retracement, right? You didn't see that going all the way back to 10,000 or 8,000 or, whatever the worst case scenario calls were. Again, I think having this healthy consolidation, forming a base, and then, as you say, sentiment changes, becomes positive, and then it's off to the races on the upside. Yep.
Okay, let's go to one of the top stories of the day. Let me pull it up right here, and it's stablecoins and the reliance on commercial paper. Stablecoins are a type of cryptocurrency tied 1-to-1 to the US dollar or other, world currencies. But where do you see the issues here, Sean? Because I know the New York AG fined, Tether.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tether has a pretty sordid history. In 2015, early 2016, they claimed that their currency was backed 1-for-1 with US dollars. I'm not sure anybody ever believed that, or that if they did, those dollars probably came from some pretty dubious sources. Because frankly, if I have a dollar and I want to buy a Bitcoin, why would I buy Tether just to buy Bitcoin? The whole purpose of Tether and the whole foundation of it is just a little bit questionable. So there was a lot of discussion. What was really behind Tether? A couple of years after that, they came out with a quote unquote audit, but the audit was based entirely upon whatever they said. So it was a complete farce. Then finally it got out that, of course, no, it wasn't 1-for-1. And in fact, just recently, as discussed in this article, the vast majority of assets are actually commercial paper, which is short-term lending issued by commercial entities, usually in order to fund their ongoing operations. And it's semi-liquid, but a dump of a lot of commercial paper, which they have, is a systemic risk to the commercial paper lending market. So that if somebody said, hey, you know what, we don't believe Tether anymore, and we're just getting rid of it, and we're going to go, just buy our Bitcoins with dollars instead of buying our Bitcoins with Tether for some reason. And all that commercial paper was liquidated because everybody sold all their Tethers. The commercial paper market would be very heavily impacted, and that would impact the ability for mid-sized commercial entities to lend or to borrow, to do things like meet payroll. So yeah, there's some real risk there, and I think that's an interesting highlight to the overall systemic risk of crypto these days.
Explain it to people that are trading in crypto, maybe the younger ones that are just doing like Dogecoin and stuff like that, that may not understand what you were just explaining on how that could affect them with just buying Dogecoin, or they're the ones that are excited to get in.
Sure. Well, I mean, people who are buying just any currency, it doesn't really impact them in terms of price action necessarily. Although, if there was a big run on Tether, a quote unquote run on the bank, where a whole bunch of people sold Tether, which caused them to liquidate the commercial paper, you could see interest rates really skyrocket, right? The cost for companies to borrow would just go through the roof, and so that could have a pretty bad economic impact overall. And that's I think what the article is highlighting there. People buying crypto in general, those things are not backed by anything and don't have any necessarily tied to commercial paper or other financial instruments. But yeah, in their everyday lives, they may see 18% credit card rates or something like that.
So you think it's that severe, just like Wall Street Journal saying right here, Bitcoin reliance on stablecoins harks back to the Wild West of finance?
There may be a little bit of hyperbole and clickbait in there, but yeah, this is one of the rare times I'll agree with the popular press and say, yeah, there's a potential issue here.
Keith?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Look, it's the L word, right? It's, leverage is leverage. And, I had read something earlier today, it kind of harkens back to the whole mortgage-backed security mess, during the financial crisis of 08, 09, but this is emerging at just such a rate, right? People are struggling to get their head around all of this. And yeah, there's not the regulation around it. So I do agree. Definitely worthy of exploration, because nobody wants to look back and go, oh yeah, we should have understood that more, after it all blows up and takes Main Street with it.
All right. Well, next up in the news, we'll talk about this from Yahoo News. Caseya hackers demand $70 million in a massive ransomware attack. This just happened in the last few days. The software supplier. This is the software supplier that supplies smaller software companies that deal with retail. They don't really know how bad the hack is yet. Sean?
Yeah, I think the interesting parallel here is that Caseya is very similar to SolarWinds. So this kind of software is used by IT providers to help their clients manage their systems. So things like remote support, or getting into a server to monitor it, doing file scans or other kinds of things. So the software has a very high level of privileged access to the client machine. And the consolidation that happens here is that most of the people who use Caseya are these what they call MSPs, managed service providers. And those companies will have 50 or 100 clients that don't manage their own IT. And so this third-party managed service provider will manage the IT for them using this software. So it's not just the fact that managed service providers may be hacked, but that all of their clients are potentially at risk as well, and that the software provides a very high level of kind of root level access to a lot of systems. So this can be pretty big in terms of an impact. But I think the real story here is that everybody's saying that Bitcoin enables these things, right? That there's an incentive because Bitcoin is anonymous and all these kind of things. That is absolutely false. What enables these things is poor security, right? The companies not prioritizing their IT budgets, companies not hiring skillers to take care of their, companies not getting involved enough or listening to IT executives. And I'm on a little bit of a soapbox here because I've been in that position where the budget was cut, but you're like, hey, well, we don't care about security if something happens. Well, now something's happening.
36,000 companies, according to Yahoo News, 36,000 companies were affected.
Yep, that's huge. So the answer is not, blame Bitcoin. The answer is blame, poor security, blame lack of focus on IT. But stop blaming crypto for hacks, because crypto doesn't enable a hack. I mean, that's just the fact. So I don't like these articles that try to tie the two together and say that it's some crypto's fault.
Yeah, how much longer do you think it's going to go where this false narrative of crypto is bad no matter what? Everything that bad happens in the world is cause of crypto.
Forever.
Next is going to be global warming.
Yeah,
it's caused by crypto.
Crypto's hard. Crypto is complicated. People don't understand it. It's the witch doctor, and it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, and it's a challenge to the norm and a challenge to the status quo. So yeah, you betcha the establishment's going to push back against it. I tell you, Joe, for me, the interesting thing is, every other week, like it's a major hack, tens of millions of dollars, and you talk about, well, why do they do it? It's no different than the phone spammers calling you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it works.
Yep.
Because it works.
Mm-hmm.
Sad but true. And then a lot of it throws back to what Sean said more about, lax security protocols at companies. But I tell you, the rise of this, state-sponsored cyber terrorism, and becoming more and more organized and sophisticated every day, I think has to be on, everybody's radar. Business, government, the crypto, the IT community, because it isn't going to go away. Now that these sharks have the taste of blood, the attacks are only going to get bigger, more brazen, because it just keeps working. Why would they stop?
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, let's sit up to the next story. Theta develops a P2P network for esports and video streaming. I mean, crypto is going to be huge in the whole esports, and it's already in a lot of the gaming worlds, Epic and a few others. You excited about this, Sean? I know you love gaming and you want to get into that area more.
Yeah, I love anything crypto and gaming. Great, gaming is my passion. I've been programming games for 20 years and still do today. It's online games are I love online games. So yeah, definitely my passion. I think the interesting story about Theta is a lot of people are selling, they're selling hash rate, or they're selling proof of storage, or they're selling proof of stake or something like that. These guys are selling bandwidth, which is really a new, unique concept, right? So instead of having centralized servers like YouTube or something else, these guys are using unused bandwidth. So, if there's a person who has their computer on and has an internet connection, and someone else wants to access some content, these guys have come up with some technology. They're still working on it. They have a lot of provisional patents. I was looking at some of what they're doing there. Very, very interesting. But they have a unique twist on crypto where you can use coins to reserve bandwidth. So, that's super interesting, I think. Very new and innovative use of crypto.
Okay. Keith, anything to add? You're not as much of a gamer.
Yeah, I mean, Sean's the resident gamer, and that's great, and I love what he's doing. He's looking at incorporating Dynamocoin in a couple of originally created games. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of what they're doing in terms of wringing efficiency out of the system, right? Unused asset being leveraged for, for good, for betterment, cost effectively, on demand. Like, I think it's great. I think it's great. I wish them success, candidly.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Yep. Next up, we're going to go into the Bitcoin. When you thought Bitcoin couldn't have been more difficult to mine, it's actually going to get easier for a little while. Bitcoin mining, which is it's still very difficult. It's not like you can just grab a computer right now and start mining Bitcoin. You're still going to make like 1 cent a year if you use a regular computer at this point. What do you think about this, Sean? Like, how's this going to affect the average person or even the market?
It won't.
Yeah.
At all, right? I think that an interesting point about Bitcoin difficulty when compared to other chains. Bitcoin chose a block time of 10 minutes and a difficulty adjustment of 2 weeks, approximately. It's every 2016 blocks. So if you do the math, it's about 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, the network self-adjusts. All the nodes that are on the network all look at how quickly the blocks are being emitted, and if they're not being emitted fast enough, it gets easier. If they're being emitted too fast, it gets slower. This is in contrast to a lot of other coins that now revise difficulty very frequently. Dynamo revises it every 2 minutes, and many other faster emission coins do difficulty adjustments much quicker to sort of smooth out the block time adjustments. So you see this ginormous drop, but that's because they waited 2 weeks, and all of the Bitcoin miners in China, that got taken offline, of course, slowed down the emission, and so they had to make it much easier. So if they had a quicker adjustment time, that 28 or whatever gigantic percentage would have been smoothed out over the entire 2 weeks. But yeah, in terms of price action, I don't think it doesn't affect the fundamentals. In terms of your average person, again, you're not going to put your CPUs or your GPUs on this. ASICs have it, and ASICs are completely centralized. You can't even buy them. People buy them literally by the tens of thousands. So, unless you're ordering 5,000 or 10,000 of these ASIC miners, you can't even buy one because the supply chain is so locked up amongst a very small number of players. So yeah, it's I think it's an interesting headline. It's a little bit of clickbait, but yeah.
It wouldn't affect the average guy. It was really a hash power. If you put 100 hash power, which probably the average guy would have, right?
Nope. Not
they wouldn't even have that. I mean, I have 165 and I have 6 GPUs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the average guy wouldn't even have that, and you'd be losing $128 a month.
Not possible. ASICs are just for Bitcoin. The way the algorithm is, ASICs are just incredibly efficient from a power standpoint. You're never going to mine it unless you get an ASIC, and you're never going to get an ASIC. So, yep.
That's why you should mine Dynamo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. My Dynamo. But I mean, isn't part of the story too that, what's the current stat? 88, 89, 90% of Bitcoin has been mined. Some very, very high percentage. And then the remaining balance, I think it's 11 or 12%. You got 100 years, to get that last 12%. So really the story starts to become less and less about, the mining of it and more about the transaction fees and the inherent value in the coin, right? The speculative value in the coin. And I think the story, the narrative around Bitcoin is going to, more and more move away from, the mining of it to transactions and just store of value.
Yep, because there's the next halving, I think, is 2022.
24.
So 24, is it that far? I don't know. I remember. Yeah, but it's so the block reward is going to be half, and then it's just logarithmic from there. So yep. Not necessarily mining income anymore, but just more like gold. They're just pulling all the gold out of the ground and hoarding it. So
Yep.
Hey, we got some people on. Hey, diners. Hello, all. Flopper Blade. Here we got
Yeah,
some
that's
people
right.
on saying hello. All right, we got
What's
two
up, Diner family?
Hey, we start small. One day we'll have a lot larger following. Got to start somewhere. Next story. Vietnam's prime minister asked state bank to trial digital currency on the blockchain. We know El Salvador has done this. Was it Korea? United States is talking about some kind of a digital currency also. So what do you think about Vietnam getting into the mix?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I think this is great. We're seeing mainstream adoption. I think again, these kinds of stories are what's going to legitimize crypto. So, yeah.
And come on, guy. Like, if you're a central bank and you had the opportunity to explore this and just have control over, your currency in a way that you can't with your paper bill, and printing it and storing it and recycling it, and just, money flows. Every single central bank out there, I'm sure, is looking at this, some further down the field than the others. But it's nice to see some of these economies kind of moving out, early, and becoming early adopters in it.
Yeah. I think too, there was a recent article that I read. Barclays in the UK has blocked. They sent out a customer service message saying, "We're protecting you from Binance." So the gig, the jig is up. The banks know that this is coming, and they're going to try to keep control of, frankly, their money.
Mm-hmm.
So, they say it's yours, but obviously it's not. If I'm not free to spend it however I want, it's not really my money, right? So, but you're going to see more action like that as well. It's an interesting development.
What do you think about that? Certain states like New York, it's very hard to get on an exchange. You only have really 2 exchanges in New York you can get on. You can't even get on Binance.
Yep. New York passed a draconian law called the BIT license about 3 years ago. I don't think there's a single politician in New York that doesn't regret doing that, because they've completely missed the boat. There are some attempts at reform, but getting a law passed in New York is pretty darn hard. I think a lot of other states have taken a completely opposite approach. You look at Washington State doing a ton of stuff. It's Wyoming and South Dakota really opening up. So I think there's going to be a seismic shift in terms of who's going to be able to operate and where they're going to operate, and those states that don't catch up are definitely going to lose out.
I would imagine the financial services lobby in New York State's got to be pretty darn powerful.
Just a little bit of influence there, but
big old stick.
Yep. But it's a 1.3 trillion market, and that's a drop in the bucket for equities, but that's what, in the last 9-10 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Equities have been around for 200 years, so they've had a little bit of a head start on crypto. I think.
Do you think anything? I mean, it's all speculation, but the New York Stock Exchange being in New York, them thinking, they're a little bit more powerful and thinking, hey, there's competition now, and kind of have an influence to getting it banned in New York. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all speculation. There's no.
I'm sure there was some agreements. Yep.
Yeah, and they they tried to ban crypto mining in New York. I heard about this earlier, so I pulled it up.
Yep. It was not. It was commercial mining based on the premise that it was energy, inefficient and those kinds of things. They didn't. There was a pretty big backlash.
Oh, we got some more people on here.
There's an interesting question. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just seeing there's some other people on here. What do you think? Where do you see Dynamo a few years from now? People are starting to ask questions. We got some fans on here.
Everywhere. The answer is everywhere. That's where we see Dynamocoin.
Yeah.
Julius.
We want to be the, the peer-to-peer disintermediators, right? Allowing two people to exchange whatever they want to, without a middleman. So, and there are so many applications of this technology. There could be millions of use cases. So, yep, if you want to rent a timeshare, if you want to hail a taxi, if you want to, buy a Coke, I mean, it's all that.
And with Dynamo, talk about some of the use cases that you're looking into.
I think it's anywhere where you think about gig economy, right? I mean, first of all, gig economy is huge, right? Everybody's moving to gig economy, and everybody wants to just interface one-to-one. And all these markets came up around that. You have Fiverr and Upwork and all these kind of things, and they take a gigantic cut of out of the gig economy. And so this kind of technology can disintermediate all those people. Yeah, there's some regulatory issues. You don't want people running illegal taxis or breaking any laws about renting their house out or whatever else. But generally speaking, this kind of technology, blockchain technology in general, and our chain in particular, has the ability to disintermediate all these, these market makers that claim that they're helping places. It's not really peer-to-peer. It's peer to marketplace to peer, right? It's as centralized as it ever was. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so much of our ethos, is crypto for people. A lot of that is keeping the spotlight, on people who want to transact together. And yes, disaggregating the middleman, or whatever that middleman may be, that centralization, whether it's Uber or Netflix or, the retail store, what have you, really just connecting people, because sometimes people fail to understand, all the cost links in that chain between the origin of a product and them getting it. If you can streamline that and you can wring efficiencies, well, that goes back in large part to the consumer, right? So wouldn't it be great to take that ride share or taxi hail and not pay Uber's 25% management fee, or whatever their current rate is? It really is all about empowering the individual consumer, Joe.
I'm going to pull up real quick. Thinking of that, Dynamo on safe.trade. Excited to see it finally on an exchange.
That's huge. That is huge.
Yep.
Let's just leave that up. That's my new screensaver. Now that is huge.
Yep.
And more coming, Joe. I mean, we didn't cross the finish line. Yeah, you don't cross the finish line and then go warm the bench, right? But the hardest one to get is the first, and credit to Sean and the rest of the team for getting this first exchange listing for Dynamocoin.
It was a great partnership too, I think, because those guys were the same size as us, right? We're just starting out. We're 5 weeks old. All of the big exchanges they want a lot of stuff. These guys were super helpful. Integration was super easy. Highly recommend them. Just really wonderful people to work with. But yeah, it was a great first match as well.
Think about how hard it is to get an exchange. Not everybody is on an exchange. You have to go through a lot of these different like swaps, a lot of people's coins, and how it legitimizes things a little bit.
Yeah, well, it creates liquidity, right? And it creates a place where some people can go. These guys don't have credit card purchase, for example, so you have to have crypto that you send in. So that's a little bit of a barrier there. But this also, I think, gives us sort of baby steps, right? So this is a good way for us to understand, how the market's going to pan out, and being a market maker for the first time, that's kind of something that's new to all of us. So yeah, but I think we need to keep this going for a little bit, get some liquidity, get on the CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. Get some traders in there to create liquidity, so people who want to buy and sell, they can. And then we'll start to branch out.
Got some comments over here. You got a couple to the moons. I'll buy a dozen donuts for everyone as soon as that's possible. I think that was about the ride share and those type of services. We just need to be more accessible to the larger community. It's still it's about niches.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great comment. Whoever said that, I guess Puncraft. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely right. Absolutely. Fact, and I think, we're challenged with that every day to get it available to a broader audience, to a broader community. Because I know I'll speak for Sean. Our number one goal is to drive value, right? Is to drive value and create value for the Dynamo community. And we're laser focused on that. So yeah, you betcha. Right now, yes, it is a little less accessible than even we would like. And our goal is to make it easier to buy and easier to interact with Dynamocoin. That's why, again, kudos to the Safe Trade listing. I know, because I've seen the paperwork go through, that there's many more in process. But it's not one and done. And candidly, getting listed, it isn't like you fill out the paperwork and then press send and then it automatically happens. Oftentimes, there is a back and forth, and the back and forth takes time. And, it just, all I can tell the community out there, and, these are great questions and I'm very grateful, they asked it, is that, this management team is fully focused on making Dynamo easier to buy and making it available to the broader community, making it a utility tool, a useful tool that drives value. And then, part of everyday life, making life better for people, saving people money. It's exciting times, but it is in its infancy. And as Sean said, 6 weeks, that's not so bad. We've come such a long, long way in 6 weeks.
You got RB Man AOL, is that what that is? When can we see Dynamo in Binance?
So, wish we knew, right? Binance has a very exhaustive application process. It's just as hard as Coinbase. They want to see you have some active trading volume. They want to see you have an active community. They need to, feel like you're not, they're not going to spend their time listing a coin that's a scam, which of course we're not a scam, but we're a little bit too small for them right now. So we need to build the community. We need to get, complete the things like CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, and we need to get the trading volume up. All of those things we're going to be super focused on in the next, 2 or 3 weeks here. So, yep. But it's going to be 2 or 3 months at least before we can even make the application in good faith. It's we need to build it up.
I mean, this moved so quick already. I mean, what are we? Not even 2 months in, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of things take years to get listed, and frankly, look, in 2018 and 2017, when everything was in the stratosphere for the first time, everything was fast and loose, right? Everything was super easy to do. Now there's so many scams and so much mainstream and so much more regulation that things are just taking longer. So, we'll send off something and we won't hear for 2 weeks. So it's, it's just, there's a lot of focus on this now, that didn't exist in 2017. And so you might see a lot of coins. You're like, well, that coin is on there. Why can't you guys get on? Well, those guys got on when it was really easy. Now they are asking for all kinds of stuff. These are 13 and 14 page applications with, showing your corporate credentials and all of the LinkedIn profiles and tax ID numbers and all, passports and all kinds of stuff. It's super involved. So, yeah. So,
I mean, regulation's coming anyway, sooner or later.
And
a lot of these are just going to disappear overnight.
Yep. So,
let's see. Very much so. I'm highly impressed. I absolutely At least we got some people on today. Hey, one step
Yep.
at a time.
Feels good.
Where
Feels
those
good.
people come from? We didn't announce this.
Yeah, exactly. Here we got another one. Looking forward to that. Kudos to the Dynamo team holding some in safe trade. So we're sitting on a gold mine.
Hope so.
Yep.
All right, man. We're getting up every day trying to mine that gold.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, mining is getting a little hard. So.
True. But even that, you know, I tell you, we talk about the mining, you know, on the advisory board meeting this morning. You know, we run through a litany of statistics every week. And I got to tell you, Sean, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think we were at 17.1 mega hash, you know, on average for the week. And again, Joe, you link that back to how far we've come in 6 or 7 weeks. You know, it was measured in kilohash.
Yeah.
You know, 6 weeks ago. And again, this is not with we do not have a high-powered PR agency, and we don't have, you know, a multi-billion-dollar marketing firm behind us. Like, a lot of this is happening organically with the team that you see here tonight, just working hard to get the message out, you know, craft some amazing technology. And yeah, it's just taken off. I'm over the moon and so proud to be part of this team.
Puncraft says, I was going to say I started mining about a month ago, and I'm feeling that difficulty climb that tells me a lot of folks are hopefully on board lately.
That's right, Puncraft.
Yep.
Darn
and I
right.
think that was, you know, that was one of the things I identified very early on about coins, because people are saying, oh, you know, mining proof of work is pointless. Everything should be proof of stake. And I said, you know, one of the key core constituencies that you have at the very beginning is that mining community, because that's a group of people who are technical and who are passionate and who are going to create your supply for the people who are the investors. And so, you know, we've been able to grow a group of people who are mining, but then that spreads out, right? So when we say, hey, you know what, we're going to go make a Reddit post every day next week, everybody go like and upvote and comment and everything else. We've got a good base of really engaged people who, by the way, you know, want to see investors come in and buy some of their coins to cover operational costs. So, so that, you know, that whole sort of organic buy sell thing, you know, all comes out of the proof of work ethos. So I think that was really, you know, important and part of the foundation that I wanted to build in the beginning.
Yeah, and Sean, I mean, I think to build on that, you know, I think it's that core foundation of that mining community that gets it, you know, in the early days, you know, and candidly, like, that's why we get up in the morning and go to work, right? You know, for guys like Puncraft, you know, who are out there, who believe, who understand, who are actively mining. Well,
Yep.
you know, candidly, now it's my job. Now it's my job to operationalize that, you know, and drive value for that, for, you know, for the whole community. And that's exciting. You know, it's a great responsibility, but, you know, we love doing it. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
John Nading says, just want to say thank you to the Dynamo team. There's a lot of time and dedication to the work being done. And these guys are busting it out. Thank you for what you guys are doing. That's nice to hear.
You're welcome. Yep, absolutely is. And I think it's important too, because, you know, so often it just, the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater, right? Is the saying, you know, oh, shit coin, scam coin, whatever garbage term you want, you know, but this isn't it. Like, when I say, like, you know, there is an obligation, you know, to get out there and make something great out of this, you know, and help monetize, you know, the beautiful technology that Sean and company have, you know, innovated, and then out there to support, you know, those out there mining it, you know, that's important. And that's a team. That's full circle. So yeah, it's early days, as we've said before, but, you know, exciting early days.
For somebody starting out mining that's never mined before, Sean, give them the advice of what they should do first, because GPUs are hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
But you have proof of space. There's other options.
Mm-hmm.
maybe talk to somebody that that wants to get into it. That's like, I don't even have a GPU, or I don't think mine's strong enough.
The only option would be right now to use CPU mining against a pool. This is a very high core count usage. So if you have something like a Threadripper or an i7, it'll be close to a low-end GPU. So you can do that, but mine against the pool. Solo mining is almost not possible anymore unless you have, I don't know, if you had maybe 50 or 60 GPUs pointed towards this. But honestly, if you did, you'd be better off mining Ethereum. And Keith is going to yell at me because I'm telling people to go mine something else.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Okay, cut.
But you'd be better off mining Ethereum and then buying, buying Dynamo, right? Because you're going to be more cost efficient. So that would be my only observation is use the pool to do the mining. We've got pool software out there. I put a new version out a couple days ago. I put some basic instructions up. We hope to get some other pool operators going. I'd be happy to work with anybody who wants to set up a pool, kind of, hold hands through it. We don't want to be in the pool mining business, and running a pool is a pain in the butt. So, hopefully there'll be more pools in existence. And I think that's the way it's going to go. But you can definitely mine. You can CPU mine against a pool and still get a good payout.
There's a lot of people that's what they're going to have to do right now, unless they have a good gaming GPU, right?
Yeah, you'd need, my low end one is an RX 580, AMD RX 580. I can use the 5500 XT. People are reporting very wide hash rate results. So I think we need, we're going to need to do some tuning on that to understand what the parameters are. And eventually we'll get listed on this site called What to Mine. That's probably going to happen once there's more liquidity. People can actually make a living mining this thing. So at that point there'll be some cards that translate to our hash rate. Right now I'm not quite sure. We need to maybe crowdsource some of that at some point. Once people start, once we get some liquidity and people can actually mine and sell this on a daily basis, that'll go.
That's what I'm trying to, a lot of people that have laptops and things like that. I'm trying to talk to the people that are learning or want to mine for the first time.
You almost never want to use a laptop because the cooling is a real problem. But yeah, any high-end desktop, and like I said, a Threadripper, AMD Threadripper, a Core i7, i9, you could definitely mine it.
Think of that. Puncraft, he's our biggest commenter and follower right now. Over 8,500 coins in existence and more every day. It's great to be on the early stages of a team that knows what the hell they're doing. Very exciting.
Boom.
Yes,
to Puncraft.
Bring him on the show.
Yeah, we should do that.
Well, I have the link. We should do that with some of the biggest followers and commenters. I can hand them a link and they can come right on the show. So watch how much you comment. I might bring you on.
And Sean, I know it's been said before, but do you want to give one more plug to the lower power requirement for mining Dynamo versus other coins out there?
Yeah. So what I found was that for my cards, the power requirement was much lower. The cards ran cooler. The fans didn't spin like crazy. It was definitely much more energy efficient. However, others have reported to me that their cards actually use more energy when mining, particularly high-end NVIDIA cards. So something like a 3090 or something like that apparently uses more energy. Maybe the NVIDIA cards can somehow parallelize this better. We could look at detuning it somehow. I don't know if that's worth it, but yeah, for the lower end, middle end AMD cards, it seems to be much more energy efficient.
And that's who you principally aimed this at, right? Yep. You weren't aiming at the high end of graphics cards, so I think that's a good thing.
Yep. No, I wanted to make it very accessible. We wanted anybody to be able to mine it, even if you only make a little. The price goes up, you have a little bit of gold in the bank.
And Sean, you've had to deal with getting GPUs from China.
Yep.
You have any insight of when it's going to get easier? and it's not going to be 3 times the price.
Yeah, it already is a little bit. So NVIDIA put in its fix, if you will, so that you can't mine Ethereum. It doesn't actually impact other algorithms, so that was kind of silly. But so now they have these special mining cards that are available. So that freed up some of the other cards. I have seen on eBay, a decent depreciation of price. The RX 580s, when I was buying them back in November, were about $160. Then in December, it was about $200. About a month ago, they were $550. And now I've seen them come back to maybe $300, something like that. So it seems like like things are starting to loosen up.
Yeah, I think we've hit peak, Sean, but I tell you, I don't think we're going to get back to normal, quote, maybe the end of the year, because there's still a lot of backlog and dislocation in the system.
Yep. A lot of die factories that just can't make enough.
Oh yeah.
Chips in general, right? They're saying Tesla is backed up because they can't get chips, of all things, right? So yeah, there's just a lot of backlog of chips. Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of reading the comments down as you guys were talking. I think we're going to have to bring Puncraft on one day. He's got a lot to say. It'd be great to just bring him right on. So we're about 50 minutes in. Anybody have any questions? Or should we keep going? Should we shut it down?
How much we got?
Yeah.
We have 15,
5 to
16
10,
people, and we've been on for 50 minutes around. We've been doing,
Yeah. I think that's good, right? We want to, got a good bit of content. I think even a half hour is, is reasonable, but as long as we do it every night.
Yeah, I just want to do a few minutes every night. We'll always be here every night. We're going to try to do every night. Let's just promise that. Do the best we can. So please come hit us up tomorrow. What time do you guys want to do it tomorrow? Want to tell everybody? What do you think?
We can have one of the people actually do an announcement.
Okay.
Let me just see. My week is I'm doing blockchain.
Yeah, Puncraft again for the win. NFT talk. Let's hear it. Yeah. But that should be the teaser, Joe, for tomorrow's discussion. The NFT talk.
We will get straight in NFTs tomorrow.
That is a bullseye. Yep, Puncraft is on it.
There you go. That's how you tease people to come back.
I like that.
I threw my purple wig out actually after the move, so I'll grow my hair long and dye it purple. How's that? Somebody dissed me on the call this morning. Said my hair was too short, so I'm going to grow it long.
Oh, I didn't even see that. It came at the bottom of the screen. Purple wig next time. All right. You guys ready?
Yeah, what did we say? 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock tomorrow? Is that it? Does that work?
Blockchain John is 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Sean's at a different one tomorrow, but we could do it before, or what do you think? Do a few minutes, like 8:30, or do you want to?
I'm fine.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, we get Sean.
Then you don't
warm up the pipes. Yeah.
Warm it up before he goes on over.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right. Everybody say their goodbyes, and I will shut it down.
Thanks.
Goodbyes. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.